we look at other people's businesses and we're like, whoa, I think I need to be doing that and then this and then this. And then you become so overwhelmed with everything that you're no longer doing the thing that you love and that you're
Right.
great. And then you burn out.
Somebody else's business isn't the business you should be running. You should be running your business your way, whatever makes you the happiest.
All right, everyone, welcome. We've got our friend Brett Baker. He co-hosts all of these with us. And we've got Trenton Bowden as well. He also now is co-hosting all of these with us. And we're going to talk about Chime. We're going to talk about Chime to Brett. Who doesn't love that? It's like our favorite thing to do. It's kind of like a Q&A, but it's just us talking to Brett and asking.
I have good news. So today I'm talking about how to save your business in 2023.
I love that. What a great topic. Dude, we had a whole bunch of people register. So you know what? Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Cool. Yeah, so I think overall the idea here is that I just want to talk about a few ideas, right? I don't want to try to inundate you with things. I just want to talk about a few ideas to help put your business back on track for 2023. And I'm going to dive right in. Like, I hope you're cool with that.
No, I'm ready. Notes, man. I'm ready.
I did the weekly chime with you guys last time, and a lot of things got brought to mind. Right. And one of the things that I see when I go through the Chime group is I see a lot of people that are looking for help and they don't know where to get it.
True.
But the topics that I pulled out, let's start with everyone should know their numbers before they start adding more stuff. They need to know their numbers more than anything else. So the number one topic for me today is know your numbers. Okay. So I think everyone should have to go through, and I did this with my inner circle of my coaching clients a couple of weeks ago. I made everyone calculate their net profit percentage for 2022 and then send that number over to me. And what shocked me out of this is the results, right? So 77% of them had actually never run a net profit margin before, right? And those that did send them over to me were in about the 30 to 40% range. So 30 to 40% of their net profit. So if we could get everyone to figure that out, it would be absolutely awesome. And I'd actually had a bunch of people do this before. Average was 34%.
Well, that's actually pretty decent, man.
34%? I mean, that's like, okay, if you don't know what we're talking about.
So, because I've seen some numbers from bigger teams.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, it's not even close to that. It's kind of like 15, 20. So that's what I'm used to seeing when we're talking bigger. So just take us through this.
I was going to say, if you've never ever run one of these before, right? If you have no idea what Tristan and I are talking about, that is okay. We get into real estate. We don't think about these things. We just think about selling homes. So a net profit margin takes into account all your income streams for your business, your gross income, and then adjusts for your operating expenses. So, right, it gives you a ratio, and that ratio is net profits to revenues for your business. Pretty basic math. I won't go rocket scientist on you on this episode, but it's super easy to run. And if you're not running one for your business, you are missing out on a huge indicator on how your business is being run. So take all the income you made for 2022 from all the streams of income that you make. If you're a coach, if you're a real estate agent, if you do all that, take all those and put them into one. And then add up all your expenses in your business, right? So your advertising, break that down by source. Your coaching, your brokerage fees, your employee wages. If you have ISAs, a marketing director, admin, VAs, all that stuff. Agent splits, yeah, those count too. Buyer's agent and listing agent splits. Your closing gifts, your fuel and your car expenses, right? Take all of those things, add them all up. Take your total income and subtract your expenses. Now you're at your net profit. And now take that net profit and divide it by that original gross income you calculated. That's your net profit margin. And your net profit margin shows what percentage of your revenue is actual profit after all expenses are deducted, right? Talks about efficiency. This is something that, as real estate agents, we run a business. Let's treat it like a business. In the many businesses that I've owned, man, this was like, that number almost was like on my screen every day. I hyper focused on that number. So
Like
when a lot of you do this, you're going to be unhappy. You just will. Most agents have no idea where they're spending money and how efficient their business is running. But I encourage you to do that because it's a number, right, Tristan? You can always improve that number. So, but put this into perspective for everybody. If you're running 34%, what's that?
You don't know what to improve if you don't know what the number is, right?
If you don't track it and you don't have those numbers in front of you, you can't improve. So here, let me put this into real numbers for people that are watching this, right? So if you're running a 34% net profit margin and you made $100,000 in 2022, you're essentially taking home 34 grand. And my average in my business, when we were running this at full steam, we were at 77%. And that was with a large team structured properly. So most teams, as Tristan said, large teams, 12 to 15%, medium teams, probably in the 25 to 30%. So know your numbers, right? So that's number one. Number two, hone in on your core audience. So if you're not focusing on your past clients and your sphere of influence in 2023, you're going to be hurting, period, right? It's time to start farming the past clients and your sphere of influence. So I like to tell people, build a digital farm and then start farming them. Let those people know that you're in business, right? We see so many people that, we see so many agents that focus on farming a community. Stop just farming communities. Go ahead and start farming your database, your sphere of influence, your past clients. So you're building a digital farm. And this is the time to focus on that core audience. These are the people that know you, that like you, that have done a deal with you, or have been in your ecosystem in the past, right? These are your core audience. In the advertising world, and Tristan's going to love this because Tristan and I are like big Daryl Eves fan. These are who are these? Our avatar. So these are the avatar for our business. These are your target audience for your advertising. If you want more clients, focus on those that have worked with you for clues on what type of marketing to run for your new leads.
That
It's pretty simple.
That also increases your net profit too, because you're spending less on acquiring the lead. And that, I think that's what we're not told at the beginning.
Yeah.
Where we're purchasing leads from Zillow or Realtor.com or purchasing something, right, at a higher rate. I'm not talking about low cost leads where we need to nurture like Google PPC retargeting, Facebook lead ads, right? That's different. But when you're talking about focusing on people that already love us, dude, that's the highest ROI. That's nothing.
Cheapest form of advertising.
Yep.
You're right. People miss that all the time. But you know what? It comes back to when all of us got into real estate, a lot of us didn't come with a business background. I got into real estate with a business background. So I treated it from day one like a business. If you didn't, that's okay. You can catch up right now. This is your time to catch up. So here's the thing. If you want more clients, focus on that core audience. Now, I have been known to actually poll my past clients with all kinds of different questions. So this is the way that I usually will like reach out to my database. Like I can ask things like, when did you decide I was the right fit to help you with buying and selling a home? And I absolutely will send a mass text to all of my past clients and ask them those kind of questions. The other one is like, what, if any of my marketing did you see when you were searching for your home? Like, how did you find me? Right? So I will literally poll them. Remember, your advertising and your follow-up worked for your core audience. Find out exactly what was working and then build that into your systems.
I love that.
Dude, look at market research for like any big company, any company at all. Most companies that run a marketing department do market research. They poll their past clients. Amazon is like the best at polling its past clients, right? How many times you get your package delivered, immediately you get out, how was your experience with this? It's the same idea. So that's number two, poll your audience, hone in on your core audience, really try to start doing more business with your core audience. And number three, learn to lean down your business. And this is a really hard one for agents, self-included. This is hard.
Oh, I like that.
We're conditioned to wanting to grow a massive team like Ben Kenny, right? It's been beat into our heads that in order to grow, we have to have a massive staff. Guilty. So I got asked the other day, I do a lot of flying. If any of you guys follow my flying adventures, like on Instagram or whatever, I do a ton of flying. And so one of my flying buddies the other day was like, hey man, would you ever grow a real estate business like you had before? And I have never said no faster. It's because he, and he pushed me, right? He was like, hey, so like, what would you do if you were to do it again? Like if you had to do it, like today, you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently? And so I'm going to tell you guys all today what I would do differently, right? So if I were to move to Malibu, I'm kidding. I would never ever encroach on Tristan's space ever. He's way too nice. I would
always
Tristan.
invite you here too, so don't even worry.
Might be a little bit more there.
Here's the thing though. What's that?
It's a little
It might be a
too
little warm.
too warm. I don't know. You guys hit like 40 the other day, and you were like in a hoodie. It looked like you came in with like a down parka on.
It was cold, man. It was 40, 41. I was like, this is too cold.
Hey, it's 41 here today. Everything's melting. It's awful. No, but seriously, if I were to move into like a new area, I wouldn't even really go live with my business until I had all of my follow-up systems in place, right? So I would build out 3 to 4 smart plans that would guide my leads through the process I wanted them to go through. I would base it on education and social proof. I would want them to feel that I'm the agent that's going to help them get educated so they wouldn't feel lost in the transaction, right? So I wouldn't even launch. I would literally build out my system first. Once my follow-up was in place, using education and social proof, I would start building out the content on my website, right? I would get extremely hyper-local in those areas that I wanted to work. And I would build out both a video and text-based landing page for each area that I was wanting to work. I'd become the area expert. I mean, that's literally what I did in Washington. But yeah, once those would launch, I would need to start a lead flow until I could build up enough digital assets across the web to start my organic lead generation. I would get someone to run my PPC for me so that I could actually start working inbound leads. So I need leads at this point. I know that my follow-up system has been built, so I know where those leads are going to go through my funnel. So I can start working those leads. Now, up until this point, that's pretty much how I started my business in Washington. And this is where things would change for me. And I know I see a bunch of those questions. This is where things would change for me. And for those of you guys that have followed my net profitability plunge thing, the NPP thing that I put out a while back, I will repost that so that you guys can see my net profitability plunge. Instead of outsourcing my follow-up, I would basically take the role of handling all of my own follow-up, right? Instead of hiring it out to an outsourced company, an ISA, a VA, something like that, I would actually be the person that would talk to my leads from day one. Now, I'm going to lose a lot of people here. Tristan already has an eyebrow up. I would handle that all on my own. I would be my own ISA. And so as I got busier and I needed to offload some of the work, I would offload it onto a showing agent. And I wouldn't hand it off to an ISA or a buyer's agent. I would do it to a showing agent. And I'll tell you why. Net profitability. So I wouldn't be given a split to a buyer's agent. I wouldn't have to have, extra people talking to my leads. I would be maintaining the control of all of my leads. And they would be basically getting to work with me from the very beginning, allowing me to build that trust from the first call and holding on to that trust through the transaction. Now, I would have a showing agent do majority of the legwork with all the showings, sitting inspections, that kind of stuff. And my reason for that is the lowest dollar per hour value. You can pay a showing agent very cheap and they do a lot of work. anyone can point out where kitchens and bathrooms are. They don't need a negotiator to basically be pointing out kitchens and bathrooms.
Pretty much.
I can only give the client experience and negotiation if I'm the one in control of that. So if I'm giving the client experience, awesome. If I'm the one doing the negotiation, awesome. But basically, when I have a showing agent, it allows me to multiply myself. I can have 10 showing agents all out doing stuff, and they're doing the low dollar per hour stuff while I'm actually closing deals, which is hilarious because the whole reason I would build it out this way, I could run a normal 9-to-5 business, allowing me time with my family, not sleeping at my desk. So again, 50 plus closings a month, you sleep at your desk.
You don't burn out.
You do.
You're not setting yourself up to burn out like this.
Yeah.
You know?
And what's hilarious, Tristan, this is exactly how my business ended up after I tried literally everything else, right? So I had tried everything else, and using that model, it's very easy for a single agent to close over 100 deals a year. Very, very easy. Working 9-to-5 and having a life outside of real estate. So that is what's that?
You and I had to fail to get here, and we don't want people listening in to have to fail for that long through trial and error to get there. So, I agree with you. I'm like, just get to where we are faster, please. You'll thank yourself.
Yeah.
Yes. What a good point.
It's crazy. It's crazy because when we talk about, even when you and I talk about we had to fail to get to where we are, for me, it was, I listened to what everybody else had told me initially, especially when I was getting into real estate. Like, you have to build it this way. You have to build it that way. It's the only way to do it. And then I did it that way. And dude, if I told you how much money I lost in the first year, it would blow your mind, because it was like, I build business. Why am I listening to people that don't build business? And that literally after my first year, I changed it. But I lost, let's see, my first year, there was a point, Tristan, in my first year of real estate, I had closed 37 deals and I had $6,800 in my bank account because I was running such an insane model at that point.
Yeah, it's there.
It's like
in there.
And that was exactly my thought, was like, dude, there's got to be a better way. My net profitability in my first year of real estate was like, it was like 12%. And I know that we talked about for like a large team, that's okay, right? Yeah, I was a single agent. It was horrible numbers, right? So, but that's how I had to start kind of shifting my mindset a little bit. And so at the time I was being coached by a rather large coach. I fired that coach. I left my brokerage. I went to a different brokerage. I did something different where I could kind of do my business in my way, and what in real estate people would call an unconventional way, because I knew that I could increase my net profitability. Oh man, so let's look at, oh man, there's so many questions here. I'm going to start answering some of these. Let's see. Adam Frank, goal 85%, buddy. I hope you do that. I really do. That's a good goal, man. Net profit margin after owner salaries or before? I always do it after, but that's me. It depends on how you're structured. Really, if you're structured as a sole prop, then sure, you can do it before that. If you're an LLC, I would probably consider doing that before that, because it's all passable tax through income at that point. Even an S Corp, if you're a C Corp, I would definitely be doing that after. Yep. Let's see. So lost at the beginning, but be very curious how you closed 37 deals in the first year. Oh man, that's a question for another webinar. Oh man, yeah. Well, if you want to know how I did 37 in the first year, second year I was ranked in Real Trends as the top 250 agent. So I did a lot of business. And then back in the Tom Ferry days. Yeah. Thanks, Buster, for pointing that out. Let's see, what else do we have here? Questions. Oh, here we go.
Question.
Yeah, buyers don't want to talk to a sales rep; they want to talk to a local expert. It's very true, and that is how I built my business. Is I kept everything. You know who else does this? Corey Prince. If you look at Corey Prince's business, it's hilarious because Corey's taken it one step further. Corey, in his business, all he does is ISA work. He is his own ISA. He's completely out of production. If you go back and watch a previous Weekly Chime that we did with Corey, he breaks all of that down. Really smart dude, has taken it to a totally different level. So,
No, that's very true. You know, I was talking about that yesterday about Corey Prince in a session, and I brought him up so that people could understand that everyone's business is a little different. They focus on that they're great at, right? And I think to your point, we look at other people's businesses and we're like, whoa, I think I need to be doing that, and then this, and then this, and then you become so overwhelmed with everything that you're no longer doing the thing that you love and that you're great, and then you burn out, right?
It's funny that you say that, because that is what I see. So if I take a coaching client on, I always look at how they're building their business out. And usually what will get me to actually fire a coaching client is if they're like, well, I just want to run your business. It's like, you don't want to run my business. You'd hate your life. I mean, I have severe ADHD. All I think about is business. At one point, I was running 16 companies at once. Like, I just talked to Monch and Trenton about this literally right before we started the webinar. Dude, if I didn't have my assistants, I have no idea how I would have survived that. You don't want to run somebody else's business. Isn't the business you should be running. You should be running your business your way, whatever makes you the happiest. And I think if anybody could take anything away, it's like, yeah, does closing 4,200 homes sound fun? I mean, I'll tell you right now, the paycheck's great, but shave 15 years off of your life for living at your desk, lose out on pretty much anything family related. Like, no, it's not worth it.
You have to think like,
would I do it again? No. All right. So before I get out of here, we're talking about showing agents. This is something that I've been asked to put together. I am teaching a course on the whole showing agent thing. If you're interested in showing agents or net profitability, theshowingagentmodel.com. Pretty easy. So that's my one shameless plug on this whole webinar. Easy. I'm not even going to give out my phone number.
Monica. So along Monica's question, which I thought was a really great question, but she's very curious about 37 deals in the first year. And I want to know how, if you had to redo it, right? Because you and I were both very successful our first years.
Yeah.
But it did require a lot of work, and hard work is work, right? It makes sense. But if you could go back and redo it, along with being able to Chime, what would you do differently so that you could have similar success or even more, but not have to give up your whole personal life to be able to do it?
Solid question. One, I'd go with a brokerage that I knew would have. Here's how I look at brokerages. I look at brokerages that have agents that I could leverage if I needed to. And what I mean by that is I look at a brokerage that has extra agents that really aren't doing a whole lot that I might be able to bring under my wing. So I would look at it from the standpoint initially of, I would start with building out my follow-up. I would start Chime, get a new website. I would start with my follow-up. I would start working backward from the end goal. The end goal for any conversion is go out and show homes or walk in the door and do a listing presentation. That's the end goal for every follow-up campaign. I'd start there and I'd work backwards, and I would, in my mind, I would build the customer experience that they're getting as they go through my smart plans. I would build all that out. I'd build my follow-up out. I'd know that the second I turned on leads, I would know where they were going to go. I would probably take Tristan 3 to 4 months to build that out. I would go through, I'd build out my follow-up. I would go and I would build out my launch campaign. and I would go out and I would build out I'd build out enough hyperlocal pages on my website to really get the job done. Okay.
That's it.
So I started there.
That's exactly where I would start too. It's so fun.
Right.
Trenton and I were talking about.
And I actually have something coming out, Tristan, that I'm doing totally for free for Chime users. I'm going to post it in the Chime group here soon. I'm working on the video right now on how to use ChatGPT to get very, very hyper local. I am working on it. It is going to be out. I'm actually working on getting everybody a page that they can literally go to my website and they'll be able to actually generate hyper local content for their page using ChatGPT's. I got access to their API. I'm doing all kinds of stuff with it. But anyways, the point is, I would start at the beginning. I would build a lot of hyperlocal stuff out. I would start looking like the area expert. A lot of that time would be spent with my camera in front of various areas, talking about the things in the area. I would start there. And then, truthfully, if I wanted a family life, I'd just start putting that into a 9-to-5 operation. The thing that I learned over the years is that if you set boundaries on your schedule, the clients that you want to work with are going to be respectful of that. So if you say, hey, I can show at this time, I can show at this time, here are the appointments that I have available. People respect that. If it's when you start putting that out there that like, oh yeah, I'll drop this and come do that for you. Now that's the expectation. Set the expectation in the beginning, like, hey, here's the time I have available. Here's the slots I have available. Which one do you want? What's that?
You're in control of how the process is going to go.
Exactly. And I see so many agents that will drop everything to go on a listing presentation, and I don't do that. If I get called to do a consultation, if you would, I will tell them, hey, here's the time that I have available. Does that work for you? And they'll say, no. Okay, well, I have this time available. Does that work for you? And if we can't make something work, it's like, sorry, I'm not a good fit for you. I can't drop everything. Which makes them want you more, just so you know. So people want what they can't have. So if you are very set on your boundaries, that's something I was not in the beginning that I moved into. So Tristan, what would I do differently? I'd set boundaries. That's exactly what I would do.
Dude, that's interesting. Now that we went through this, you took us through this, I would say I'd probably do the same thing, because what I realized over the years is when I'm outlining the calendar, I'm not only outlining what I'm working on, like what's my priority, what energizes me, what gets that needle to where I want it to get to, but I'm also outlining what times I'm resting and what times I'm thinking and what times I'm with my family. So that is just as important as, if not more, as important as when I'm working. And I would do the exact same thing you just said. Interesting.
Yeah. And the whole reason I go after the showing agent thing, what's the thing that takes up the most of our time? Walking people through houses, right? That's what takes the most of our time. And so if I can outsource that to somebody else, and I can instead go be at a kid's soccer game, or I can instead be on date night with my wife, you bet I'm going to do that. Because they don't need me there to do that. They need me for the negotiation. Absolutely. I'm guiding them through the transaction. But if I set my hours up 9 to 5, and all I'm doing is essentially being the person that is responsible from day one until the day they close, they feel so much more connected to me, which in turn leads to higher referrals, because you're not a number anymore, or they're not a number.
Yeah, I know what some people are thinking, because it crosses my mind, even though I know what you're telling me is 100% truth, okay? And I know that people are thinking like, that's impossible. We can't do this in real estate.
Yeah.
Right. There are some people thinking that 100%.
I know.
But I've seen it happen. And in fact, one of our coaches, Matt Witt, he's a full-time teacher, full-time still for the last, I don't know, he loves it. And he just finished doing almost a $50 million volume a year.
Yeah.
He's full-time. And he does real estate.
Yeah.
He has a team. He's leveraged exactly how Brett says. So it's all on what you think is possible, because then your brain starts thinking, what are the solutions?
Yeah. Here's one for you, Tristan. So my wife, who we all have had on this several times, Most people don't know this. So she lives in Alaska. She still has her business in Washington. Her business between her showing agent models there, or her showing agents there, they're closing a handful of transactions every month without her being in the state. She hasn't been in the state in months, and she can still do this all from afar. So exactly. Yeah. So I'm reading Jessica's thing here, and then we probably should. Oh, yeah, you responded already. I know.
That's a really good point, I think. And it goes back to what Brett said at the very beginning, which is if we're going to start this and have the best ROI,
Yeah.
let's start with people that already love us and like us. Who is our core audience? Going
Exactly.
back to Daryl Eves on YouTube and social media, like who is your core audience? What
Exactly.
are they showing for?
Yeah, exactly. It's funny, Tristan, you go through that training and it's like, man, this is all the same crap that I try to teach real estate agents and they don't listen to me. It's like,
So funny.
you just want to pull my hair out.
I'm thinking now, like YouTube, I had no idea YouTube was exactly like real estate. I was like, what?
It's funny because I was going through all that and like Aurora's sitting next to me and she's just looking at me and she goes, this the same you teach? And I'm like, uh-huh. But she goes, and you paid how much for this? And I'm like, I don't want to talk about it.
We didn't know. Well, now we know.
No idea.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much. Have an awesome
Take care,
day.
guys.
Brett,
Right.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Anytime. See ya.